Daniel Bryan never thought that the very person he trusted to guide his career, the man sitting in the boardroom making decisions for the company he fought his life for, would betray him in the most personal and devastating way possible. But the shocking truth shattered every ounce of respect, every illusion, and every ounce of loyalty he once had, because what Daniel Bryan saw with his own eyes inside his own home has become the most humiliating nightmare of his entire life. Imagine giving your entire heart to someone. Imagine putting your faith in your wife, your partner, your so-called soulmate, believing that through all the wars, the travel, the fame, and the chaos of WWE, the one thing you could come home to was love. But instead, Daniel Bryan opened the door to betrayal that cuts deeper than any steel chair, deeper than any chokehold, deeper than any submission could ever reach. Because there she was, his wife. The woman he stood with at the altar. The woman he promised his forever to. The woman he defended against rumors. The woman he stood beside when the world mocked and judged. And she wasn't alone. No, she was in bed, locked in the most intimate moment imaginable, not with a stranger, not with some nameless face, but with Triple H. Yes, the same Triple H who shook Bryan's hand behind the curtain, who called him a B-plus player to his face, who buried him in the middle of the ring and then pretended it was all business. The same Triple H who gave him opportunities and then ripped them away. The same Triple H who played God in WWE now playing God in Bryan's marriage. And in that single moment, Daniel Bryan's life was destroyed. The anger? Uncontrollable. The betrayal? Beyond comprehension. This isn't a storyline. This isn't kayfabe. This is real-life devastation, a humiliation that Bryan could not, and would not, keep silent about. Because for the first time in his career, Daniel Bryan wasn't fighting for a title. He wasn't fighting for respect. He was fighting for his dignity, his pride, his very manhood that had been ripped from him in the most humiliating way possible. The divorce papers were filed immediately. No second thoughts. No forgiveness. No coming back from this. Because how do you forgive when the man who betrayed you isn't just your wife but the coup of WWE, the man who holds power over your career, your image, your legacy? This wasn't just a betrayal of the heart, it was a career-shattering dagger aimed straight at the chest of Daniel Bryan. And the fans? The WWE universe? They are livid. They are disgusted. They are in shock. Social media has exploded in ways never seen before. The hashtag Bryan betrayed has trended worldwide for days, with fans demanding answers, demanding justice, demanding to know how deep this betrayal truly runs. But here's where it gets darker. Sources close to the situation claim this wasn't a one-time thing. No, this wasn't some drunken mistake or fleeting moment of weakness. This affair has been going on for months, possibly years. Secret hotel meetings, locker room whispers, glances that fans shrugged off as nothing more than backstage politics. And now, the truth is undeniable. Daniel Bryan's wife and Triple H, an affair that spits in the face of loyalty, respect, and everything Bryan has ever stood for. And let's not pretend Triple H doesn't know exactly what he's doing. He's the master manipulator. He's played games with the careers of legends. He's buried men alive in the politics of WWE. But this wasn't business. This was personal. This was the deliberate destruction of Daniel Bryan, not in the ring, but in his home. And that's why Bryan isn't staying quiet. Filing for divorce was just the beginning, because now Daniel Bryan is ready to bring this fight to the public. He's ready to drag Triple H out of the shadows of the boardroom and into the spotlight of shame. And fans are demanding that this battle go all the way to WrestleMania, where Bryan won't just fight for pride, he'll fight for revenge. The world is asking one question: how could she? How could the woman who stood beside Daniel Bryan through every concussion scare, every grueling night on the road, every yes chant echoing through arenas worldwide, betray him with the very man who made Bryan's life hell inside WWE? The answer is as twisted as it is infuriating. Because while Bryan fought tooth and nail for his legacy, Triple H lurked like a vulture. He didn't just want to control Bryan's career, he wanted to control his life. And what better way to completely break a man than to take away the very foundation he rests on? His marriage, his trust, his pride. Triple H didn't just cross the line, he obliterated it, burning it to ash with a smug grin that fans are already demanding he pay for. And let's not ignore the obvious. This isn't the first time WWE power has corrupted relationships. History has shown that Vince, Stephanie, and now Triple H have always blurred the line between business and personal. But this goes beyond the business. This is about ego. This is about Triple H proving, once again, that no matter how much the fans chant for Bryan, no matter how many WrestleMania moments he creates, the game will always have the last move. But Daniel Bryan is not just going to sit back and let his legacy be destroyed in silence. No, the fire inside him has been reignited, only this time. It's not about titles, it's not about chance, it's about vengeance. And when Bryan talks vengeance, the WWE universe listens. Reports backstage are saying that Bryan is already pushing for a match that would go beyond anything WWE has scripted before. A personal war. Not just a one-on-one fight, but a career versus pride showdown that would expose Triple H's darkest sins to the entire world. Imagine the spectacle: Daniel Bryan, fueled by betrayal, standing face-to-face with the man who ripped apart his home, in front of millions of fans worldwide. That isn't just a wrestling match, that's a war for humanity, a war for justice, a war that fans are desperate to see. And don't think for a second the locker room isn't paying attention. Superstars have already begun whispering their disgust. Some stand with Bryan, enraged by the betrayal. Others, too afraid to cross Triple H, remain silent, proving just how much power the game still holds. But as this scandal grows, silence will no longer be an option. Lines are being drawn, and sides will have to be chosen. But here's where the story takes a gut-punching twist. Sources claim that Daniel Bryan's wife isn't ashamed. She isn't hiding. In fact, she's allegedly defended her relationship with Triple H, claiming that Bryan wasn't enough anymore. Can you imagine the humiliation? Not only losing your wife to your boss, but hearing her justify it? That cuts deeper than any blade, deeper than any steel cage, deeper than any loss in the ring. And the fans? They're not holding back. The WWE Universe has exploded in rage, flooding every post, every interview, every live event with chants of "cheater" and "Triple H sucks." The chants have already begun taking over arenas, drowning out promos, derailing segments, and forcing WWE to address what has become the most scandalous story in modern wrestling history. But let's not forget, Triple H isn't just any wrestler. He's the coup of WWE. He has the power to silence stories, to erase moments, to bury truths. And that's exactly what some insiders are saying he's trying to do right now. Already, footage of Bryan confronting his wife backstage has been mysteriously deleted from archives. Interviews where Bryan hinted at betrayal have been cut short. Triple H is using every ounce of corporate power to suppress the scandal, but the WWE Universe won't let it die. Because the truth is too raw, too powerful, too real. You can't script this. You can't control it. You can't bury it. For once, Triple H has crossed a line he cannot rewrite. And Bryan? He's not just fighting back, he's ready to expose everything. Rumors are swirling that Bryan is preparing to release his own footage, proof of the betrayal, undeniable evidence that will shake WWE to its core. Imagine the fallout if Bryan reveals that footage to the WWE Universe live in the middle of the ring. Imagine the eruption, the chaos, the destruction of Triple H's carefully crafted image as the game crumbles before millions of eyes. The fallout has reached levels that even WWE couldn't have predicted. What started as whispers in the locker room has now erupted into a full-blown war within the company, with Daniel Bryan standing in the eye of the storm. Because let's be honest, this isn't just a scandal, this is a betrayal so deep it threatens to tear the very fabric of WWE apart. And if you think Bryan is going to just walk away quietly, you don't know him at all. This is the same man who refused to let doctors end his career, the same man who clawed his way back from injury when everyone said it was impossible, the same man who defied Vince McMahon, Stephanie, and yes, even Triple H, to stand on top of the world at WrestleMania 30. If Daniel Bryan could fight through that, do you really think he's going to let Triple H steal his wife and destroy his dignity without a fight? Absolutely not. And here's where things get wild. Multiple insiders are now reporting that Bryan has hired a legal team not just to finalize the divorce, but to investigate WWE itself. That's right, this betrayal could spark lawsuits that dive into the corruption, the manipulation, and the abuse of power that Triple H has allegedly been hiding for years. Imagine the courtroom scenes, Bryan's team dragging the coup of WWE into the mud, exposing every dirty secret, every underhanded deal, every personal betrayal that has been swept under the rug. But Bryan's not stopping at the courts. He's taking this fight where it hurts the most, inside the ring. Sources say Bryan has demanded a match with Triple H at the next pay-per-view. Not just a normal match, not just a no DQ stipulation, but a match with everything on the line. Bryan wants blood, Bryan wants retribution, and Bryan wants the entire world to watch as he dismantles the man who dismantled his life. And fans? They're eating it up. The WWE Universe is foaming at the mouth, begging to see Triple H humiliated, begging to see Bryan get his revenge. Chants of Bryan, Bryan, Bryan are echoing across arenas again, louder than ever before. Fans are demanding justice, and for once, they're united in fury. Because this isn't about scripted rivalries. This isn't about championships. This is about betrayal at the most human level, and the WWE Universe feels that pain right alongside Bryan. But here's the sinister twist: Triple H isn't backing down. If you think the game is going to crumble under pressure, you're dead wrong. No, sources say he's already strategizing. He's already using his corporate influence to twist the narrative, to paint Bryan as the unstable one, the jealous husband who snapped under pressure. Imagine the mind games. Imagine Triple H standing in the middle of that ring, smirking, saying, "Bryan, you were never man enough for her. And you were never man enough for WWE." That's not just fuel to the fire, that's gasoline to an inferno. And don't think Stephanie McMahon isn't part of this. Oh no, this scandal drags her right into the center of it all. The world is asking, how much did Stephanie know? Was she aware that her own husband was betraying Daniel Bryan? Did she condone it? Did she turn a blind eye because of power, because of image, because of control? The questions are piling up, and the silence from the McMahon family is deafening. But here's where it gets terrifying for WWE. Daniel Bryan isn't alone. The locker room, the very foundation of WWE, is starting to fracture. Some stars, especially the underdogs who've been buried by politics, are rallying behind Bryan, whispering that it's time to tear down the corrupt empire. Others, terrified of losing their spots, are clinging to Triple H's side. This isn't just a feud. This is a potential civil war inside WWE, one that could leave the company in ruins. And if Bryan gets what he wants, a match, live on pay-per-view, then you better believe this will go down as the most personal, most brutal, most talked about showdown in WWE history. Forget Rock versus Austin. Forget Hogan versus Savage. Forget Undertaker versus Michaels. This isn't just about wrestling, it's about vengeance, betrayal, and justice. But the story doesn't stop there. Because rumors are now circulating that Bryan is sitting on explosive evidence. Text messages, photos, maybe even video footage that proves beyond a shadow of a doubt the affair between his wife and Triple H. And if Bryan decides to air that evidence live on WWE television, in front of millions, the image of Triple H as the King of Kings will be shattered forever. Can you imagine it? Bryan, standing in the ring with a microphone, playing footage on the Titantron, exposing Triple H to the world, while the crowd erupts in thunderous chants of "You screwed Bryan." That's not just a wrestling angle, that's history in the making. That's the kind of moment fans never forget. And here's the scary part for WWE: if Bryan exposes it all, if he tears Triple H's legacy to pieces, then there's no going back. The authority, the boardroom politics, the power of the game, all of it crumbles in front of the very audience he's controlled for decades. The betrayal has already ripped Daniel Bryan's personal life apart, but now it's threatening to bleed into every corner of WWE. Because once the locker room smells weakness, once the fans demand blood, once the scandal becomes bigger than the matches themselves, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle. Triple H thought he could control the narrative, but this time, he's not fighting an opponent in the ring. He's fighting truth. And the truth doesn't tap out. Daniel Bryan is no longer the scrappy underdog fighting for championships, he's the betrayed warrior fighting for his soul. The Yes movement has been reborn, not as a celebration, but as a battle cry. Fans aren't chanting because Bryan's climbing ladders or locking in submissions, they're chanting because they feel his pain. They've been cheated on. They've been lied to. They've been betrayed by people they loved. And now, through Bryan, they get to live out the revenge they've always dreamed of. But here's the kicker. Reports are flying that Bryan isn't just targeting Triple H in the ring, he's targeting the entire system. Word backstage is that Bryan is considering forming a faction, not just of allies, but of superstars who've been screwed by the system, buried by the politics, and humiliated by the power games of the McMahon-Helmsley dynasty. Imagine it: Bryan leading a group of rebels, united not by titles, but by revenge, storming the castle that Triple H and Stephanie built brick by brick. Names are already being whispered. Sami Zayn, who fought tooth and nail for recognition. Kevin Owens, who's been punished for speaking his mind. Maybe even CM Punk, the voice of the voiceless who walked away from WWE years ago because of the same corruption Bryan is exposing now. Can you picture it? Bryan and Punk standing side by side, united by betrayal, going to war against Triple H and the very empire he controls? That's not just a storyline, that's revolution. But Triple H isn't a fool. He knows Bryan's next move before it's made. He's been playing chess while everyone else plays checkers his entire career. And the whispers backstage say Triple H is already preparing to weaponize his own army. Who better to protect his throne than men who owe their careers to him? Superstars like Randy Orton, Batista, and even Seth Rollins, men who thrived under the authority, men who've proven their loyalty, men who know the ruthless game Triple H plays better than anyone. Picture this: Bryan leading a rebellion, standing across the ring from Triple H's army, the ring surrounded not just by wrestlers, but by the weight of betrayal, politics, and corruption. It wouldn't just be a match, it would be warfare. And the WWE Universe would eat up every second of it. And then there's the personal toll. While Bryan prepares for battle, the divorce proceedings are moving fast. Insiders are saying Bryan has made it crystal clear there will be no settlement, no negotiation, no chance of reconciliation. He wants everything on record, every betrayal exposed, every dirty detail dragged into the light. And as painful as that process is, Bryan isn't backing down. Because he knows the fans are watching. He knows the world is watching. And he knows his pain has become their pain. But here's the darkest rumor of all. Some close to the situation claim that Triple H's relationship with Bryan's wife may not have been a fling, it may have been a calculated move. A way to weaken Bryan, to destroy him from the inside, to break the heart of the one-man Triple H could never truly bury in the ring. If that's true, if Triple H deliberately targeted Bryan's marriage as part of his endless hunger for control, then we're not just talking about betrayal anymore, we're talking about psychological warfare at the highest level. And that makes Bryan's revenge even more terrifying, because this isn't just about a match. This isn't about winning or losing. This is about ending the game once and for all. The WWE Universe can sense it. The tension is boiling. Every live event now feels like a powder keg waiting to explode. Fans are bringing signs that read Bryan Hunter, Chance of Cheater, are drowning out Triple H's promos. Even superstars are breaking character mid-show, unable to ignore the scandal that hangs over the company like a storm cloud. WWE wanted controversy? They got it. But now, it's spiraling out of control. And the big question remains, will WWE let Bryan have his revenge in the ring, or will they try to silence him before the truth gets too big to contain? Because if Bryan steps into that ring with Triple H, this won't just be another match. This will be the most personal, most violent, most unforgettable clash in WWE history. The world is waiting. The fans are demanding it. And Daniel Bryan? He's preparing for the fight of his life. The silence from WWE headquarters is deafening, and the silence is making fans even angrier. Normally, when a scandal hits, the machine jumps in, puts out a statement, spins the story, and tries to calm the chaos. But this time? Nothing. No apology. No denial. No explanation. And that silence speaks louder than any press release ever could. It tells the world one thing: Triple H's grip on WWE is so strong, he thinks he can ride out the storm. But Daniel Bryan isn't giving him that luxury. Every appearance Bryan makes is another dagger straight into the heart of Triple H's empire. Whether it's interviews, live events, or even small glimpses on social media, Bryan is making one thing clear: he's not afraid. He's not backing down. And he's not stopping until the truth is revealed to the entire world. And this is what makes Bryan more dangerous than ever before. Inside the ring, he's always been relentless. But outside of it, he's now fueled by something stronger than any championship could ever provide: vengeance. A man with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous man alive, and right now, Daniel Bryan is exactly that. Insiders claim Bryan has already confronted Triple H backstage more than once since the scandal broke. Security had to step in, not once, but multiple times, to keep the two from tearing each other apart before cameras were even rolling. Think about that for a second. Bryan is so consumed by rage that he doesn't care about the cameras, the fans, or the show. All he cares about is getting his hands on Triple H. That isn't storyline, that's raw, uncontrolled emotion. And that's exactly what makes it so compelling. But here's the chilling part: Triple H isn't rattled. He isn't scared. In fact, some say he's enjoying it. Every time Bryan storms toward him, every time fans chant "cheater" in his face, Triple H just smirks. Because in his mind, this is just another game, another opponent to break, another piece of control to tighten. He doesn't care if the fans hate him. He doesn't care if Bryan hates him. Because at the end of the day, he still sits at the top of the throne, and in his twisted mind, that makes him untouchable. But no throne lasts forever. The cracks are beginning to show. Sponsors are growing nervous. Networks are asking questions. And some members of the board are reportedly furious that Triple H has dragged the company's image through the mud with his personal scandal. WWE is a global brand, and no amount of power can protect Triple H if the board decides he's more of a liability than an asset. And this is where Daniel Bryan's leverage becomes dangerous. Because Bryan doesn't just have fan support, he has the truth. If he exposes everything, if he plays his cards right, he doesn't just take Triple H down inside the ring, he could take him down inside the boardroom too. Imagine that. Bryan not only humiliates Triple H on pay-per-view, but forces him out of power entirely. That wouldn't just be revenge, that would be justice. But Triple H isn't planning to go down without a fight. Whispers are already spreading that he's preparing to weaponize his influence in the most brutal way possible by turning Bryan's own pain against him. Imagine Triple H standing in the ring, cutting a promo not about titles, not about power, but about Bryan's wife. Smirking, taunting, saying lines designed to rip Bryan apart piece by piece. Triple H has always been a master of psychological warfare, and this time, he's playing with the rawest nerve imaginable. Picture the crowd. Triple H smirking, leaning on the ropes, saying, "Bryan, you couldn't satisfy her. You couldn't control her. You couldn't stop me. And at WrestleMania, I'll prove once and for all you were never man enough." Those words alone would detonate the arena, sending Bryan into a frenzy unlike anything we've ever seen before. And don't think Stephanie is staying silent. Sources claim she's torn between defending her husband publicly and privately confronting him about the chaos he's created. The cracks in the McMahon-Helmsley empire are beginning to show, and Daniel Bryan is the sledgehammer pounding at the foundation. The WWE Universe senses it too. This isn't just Bryan versus Triple H anymore. This is corruption versus rebellion. This is betrayal versus vengeance. This is a storyline too real to be ignored, too raw to be scripted, too personal to be dismissed. And as every week passes, the demand for their collision grows louder, stronger, and more unavoidable. And here's the final twist for this chapter. Word is spreading that Bryan's legal team is preparing to subpoena WWE records, emails, messages, internal communications. If those records reveal even a fraction of what insiders are whispering, then this won't just be a scandal. It will be a nuclear bomb that destroys everything Triple H has built over the last 2 decades. The game might think he's in control, but for the first time in his career, Triple H is playing on a board he doesn't own. And Daniel Bryan? He's ready to flip the table.